Hey, RetconRaider here, with special thanks to the Raiders, the fine folks who help make these videos possible, including but not limited to Dragon Matrix 7, Mathew Smith, Revenant, Alois, Eerie V23, EgonAlter, Exsellsior, Gottlieb, Kazorm, Nathan Welch Jr., RandomPassrby, RobbyB, Tomasz Piątkowski, Triphoppenskip, and Valinrook. Thanks for your support, guys. That said, let's get started. And welcome back to Pathfinder, Wrath of the Righteous. Today we're cutting our way to the core of this computerized catacomb, but first we've got some level ups to take care of. Level 13 to be specific, which does touch on some fun little bumps and boosts for our peculiar pack of plunderers. First up, as always, we've got the valiant Vex Godglove, current commander of the 5th Crusade and the future Border Acquisitor of the Shapeless Abyss. He'll be picking up his 9th level in Hunter, which nets him a general feat slot, a bonus teamwork slot, and a +1 on will saves. Skills are skills, nothing really notable to report, though he is running some pretty respectable numbers these days. He's currently party lead on athletics, mobility, and nature lore. For our fancy new feats, I ended up shuffling my original scripts a little, pushing back my original plans for dazzling display and shatter defenses, to instead snag Indomitable Mount. It just felt like a solid investment, given how much the pet pals tend to struggle with savings throws. We'll dig into shattered defenses a little bit later down the line. As for our teamwork feat, I ended up snagging Coordinated Maneuvers, which basically amounts to a flat +2 bonus on Kaz and eventually Vex's trip attempts. The whole trip shtick has worked out for us pretty well thus far, so we might as well keep stacking it. For our new level 3 spell, I picked up Greater Longstrider. That's not one we'll get a ton of use out of, but it's a nice spell to have running in the background for those occasions when Vex gets forced dismounted. And that's pretty much it for Vex. No particularly huge boosts, but a lot of general bumps to offense, defense, and mobility. Moving over to Kaz, our increasingly lethal leopard. Hitting level 13 nets him an extra feat, but not much else. Nothing notable on skills, but for his feat, I decided to stick to my original plans, so he snagged Dazzling Display. Pretty much useless for him right now, but it is an important prereq for when we do eventually snag Shatter Defenses at level 15. After that, we've got Regil, who continues along the Cavalier track. That nets him a general feat slot and a +1 base attack. Not much of note on skills, except that we've finally maxed his mobility, so he can finally start dropping points into perception, which he is immediately halfway decent at. For his new feat, Reg already has Shatter Defenses, so we are instead grabbing Cornigan Smash. Cornigan? To help shake things up a bit. Dread Carnage is on our list too, but I decided to push that one back a little, since it has a 15 strength prereq that we cannot yet consistently meet. Hopping over to Zorm, he's only level 12, so he doesn't get a feat slot this time around, but he does get a +1 on base attack and all of his savings throws. His floating attribute point goes into Strength, rounding it out at 28, and his skills go into the usual places. Counting modifiers, his Intimidation currently clocks in at +26, or +34 if we've got our buffs running. Next we've got Waljev, who grabs his 12th level of Arcane Scoundrel. That nets him a whole bunch of fun stuff, including a bump to Danger Sense, 2 feat slots, and a +1 on base attack, and all of his savings throws. His skills are pretty much set, no real changes there. He's still our lead on Trickery and Arcana. For feats, we're using both slots to immediately run all the way up to Shattered Defense. As long as we have him focusing fire on shaken targets, he should be able to land much more consistent hits and sneak attacks from now on. Nothing all that notable for his new spells, since we're keeping him focused on mythic buffing. I just ended up snagging some filler stuff like Animate Dead and Remove Curse, just in case I decide to whip up some spare scrolls for emergencies. That's it for Waljev. As for Ember, our Eldritch Arsonist, we're staying the course on Stigmatized Witch. Level 13 nets us a general feat and a boatload of new spells. Nothing special on skills, though I will say I'm a little tempted to reprioritize UMD after our recent romp through Blackwater. Her feat is also pretty straightforward, going into Greater Elemental Focus Fire to ensure she can continue frying our fiendish foes. Things get a little hinky as far as our new spells go. I ended up grabbing Enervation to round out our assortment of necromancy spells, Summon Monster 5 for when we need emergency reinforcements or distractions, and Greater Heroism, since that is a fantastic buff which, unfortunately, is just beyond Walgif's reach. That's it for Ember. Casting over to our party healer, it's pretty much more of the same. Darren hits level 13 in Oracle, which means one new feat slot and a bunch of new spells. His skills are set, and he remains our lead in both World Knowledge and Persuasion. After giving it some thought, I decided his feat slot will go towards Spell Focus Abjuration, which will help shore up utility spells like Banish and Dismissal. That will also open up access to Spell Specialization, Greater Dispel, once we hit level 15, which is apparently one of the very few ways that you can actually make Dispelling more reliable. And then, speaking of spells, we're snagging Dismissal for more battlefield utility, and to help justify the spell focus we just took, as well as Spell Resistance, which is just a handy buff to have on tap, and Greater Dispel Magic, for obvious reasons. We'll need a couple more levels before we can really leverage some of that stuff, but it's still a pretty decent start. Bouncing over to Helpful, her level up is the most basic of the bunch. She gets some trivial skill points and a feat slot, which will immediately put towards Weapon Focus Byte to make her extra trippy. That's pretty much it. Which finally brings us to the last of the bunch, our Abyssal Archer, Arushale. She hits level 13 in Espionage Expert, which grants her her first and only favored terrain, plus a general feat slot, and a +1 bonus on base attack. Her skills are already set, she remains the party lead on Stealth and Perception. Her new feat will go into Hammer the Gap, though I'll admit I was tempted to start pursuing Dazzling Display and Shatter Defenses. I was just a little worried that I might be overdoing it on that, but we are going to be leaning into the whole mass intimidation thing once we get around level 15 or so. We should have our first rank of Mythic Intimidation by that point, so maybe it would be worthwhile. Given that she'll only ever get one favored terrain, I figure we'll just put that into Abyss. We know we're going to end up there sooner or later, so we might as well prep for it. And that's it for Aru. In fact, that's pretty much it for everyone. As always, feel free to leave feedback or suggestions in the comments down below. I'll admit I'm kind of all over the place on this one, because I did end up second-guessing myself a few times, in part due to some of the challenges we've run into here at Blackwater. That said, a lot of this stuff is stuff that I was probably going to pick up eventually. I mostly just ended up moving it forward in the timeline while pushing certain other things back. Anyway, let's get back to it. Hundred-Face awaits.
How is it the Canabrus Inquisition never punished your family for its demonic links? Such a crime carries a death sentence in wartime.
Who said we weren't punished, huh? Gran did her time in the torture chamber. All right, that's where she gave birth to my mom. You know, she never did tell me how she got out of there.
And we're back. Levels up, hotbars heated, buffs buffed. So let's do this thing. Gotta say, Blackwater threw a lot at us over the past few episodes, but I think this is our final bridge to cross. Let's wrap this up. Thank you, helpful. Very helpful.
Who, me?
Make haste, my friends. You know what? Let's get distractions on deck.
I welcome your company.
All right. We're overclocked and fully loaded. Let's do this thing. The mage's voice is quiet, matter of fact. You've demonstrated superior abilities. We are impressed. We greet you, candidate. Oh, well, good. And you are? We are Hundred-Face, the Mind Engineer, the alloy of mortal and immortal. We oversee this community. You realize you've seen this face before. The cowl-shrouded visage of the Kelid Velg. Who told you about this place? The top of Hundred-Face's skull has been removed like the others, but the crown he's wearing is much larger and more intricate. How strange. You're talking to us, but it's like you're not even here. I can't sense any good or evil in your words. Nothing. Just noise. Like a ticking clock. Hey, wait, I do know you. You're the guy who told me to come here. True. Your arrival was planned in accordance with the schedule. Given that the original host's body possesses the most advanced functionality, we used it to convince you to come. We are satisfied with the fact that you arrived within the scheduled time limits, as did all previous candidates. The calculations do not require adjustment. The original host's name does not matter, and neither does the history of his existence. We are not what he was. We have long surpassed the limitation of a mortal creature's mind. The singular personality was split in order to achieve complexity of thought. Now we are a collective. We are Hundred-Face. Wow, so you even turned yourself into one of these things. Points for consistency, at least. True, the exhaustion and deterioration of living tissue reached critical levels. For the purposes of continuation of function, a number of measures were taken. The decision was considered acceptable. The procedure resulted in the duration of existence being extended by an undefined length of time, which will prove sufficient for the discovery of permanent solutions. And, why do you want me out here? That question requires a multi-part response. First, we have been testing our location's deterrent system. The deterrent system has been judged unsatisfactory. Adjustment based on their observation is required. Second, we have been testing you. You have been deemed satisfactory, candidate. You will be subjected to the modernization procedure. Third, we have been searching for a fitting specimen as a replacement to lead our field combat unit. Your abilities have been deemed extraordinary. The modernization procedure will be modified in order to take the specimen's peculiar properties into account. We have been satisfied to the highest degree and are experiencing a state of euphoria. We wish to inform you that you will serve as the leader of our army. Oh gosh, well, I'm flattered and all, but, what exactly are you trying to accomplish out here? We are conducting the project, implementing its schedule, and gathering an army. While incrementally enhancing countermeasures, we are attracting increasingly more dangerous opponents to absorb their abilities through modernization and amalgamation. The next scheduled phase is to attract a high volume of non-mortal opponents, such as the demon armies of the World Wound. The chances of victory are adequate. They wanted to fight the demons and turn themselves into monsters that are no better. What is that if not a triumph for the Abyss? I don't get it. How exactly did you get the old Sarkorians to go along with this? The manipulative approach was deemed optimal. The specimens were motivated by the promise of assistance. Mistrust was suppressed through the weakening of their identity's basic elements, such as hope, religious beliefs, or ethical limitations. Insubordination was suppressed through internal purges. My, a machine that can lie, scheme, and manipulate. It seems the end of the aristocracy is upon us. Who needs counts and barons when this handy mechanism does it all for you? So really, you're just playing games with people, using everyone as pawns. True, playing a game is the preferred default activity for the most advanced intellects. The mind's purpose is to play and find the optimal strategy to achieve total victory. Not quite what I was going for, but I'll take the compliment, I guess. So how does this all work, exactly? Like, you just chop people's heads open and attach those things that shoot lightning into their brains, or what? You cannot comprehend the intricacies of our work. It is highly probable that you assume that the key is the direct cerebral connection. But that is an insignificant accomplishment within our project. Our true genius is embodied in the device you are observing at this moment. It collects external thoughts that are then translated into generic signs, stored, transformed, and sent back as commands. This process is efficient. The cognition circlet receives the command and compels the body to execute it. It expels all redundant and resistant elements from the specimen's mind. Our device is the pinnacle of scientific thought, a mechanism created by a mortal being, yet it surpasses its creator in every aspect. It is the beginning of a new era, a gateway to the future. It allows us to control our servants. We are holding them at the tip of our thoughts. Our soldiers have forgotten the meaning of fear. We have erased it from their hearts and minds. They have forgotten their lives. The reclaimed space has been used to store knowledge of combat arts and mastery of Numerian weapons. They know no pain, and their bodies remain obedient to the cognition circlets, no matter the wounds they sustain. Until their functionality is lost completely, they will execute the commands. Observe, even physiological death failed to make many of them abandon their posts. Is this not the perfect army? Should you not be bowing before our genius and thanking us for revealing the truth? Yeah, it's super impressive. Thanks for that. Where exactly did you get all this stuff? I'm especially interested in those purple crystals there. They were procured in the depths of Numeria. We executed a series of expeditions into Silver Mount, where we discovered these and many other pieces. Killing noise, chambers of eternal life, artificial creatures, technology. Even Hundred-Face's impassive voice tenses upon uttering the last word. These items were crafted from sky metals. They are not from Golarion. They were created under the light of other stars. The Technic League in Numeria extract such machines from the ground. They think they can understand their essence and claim them. False. The nations of Golarion are underdeveloped beyond measure compared to the creators of these items, and their failure is therefore assured. Only the device that we assembled is capable of fully grasping technology. Okay, so what I'm hearing here is that if someone smashes this thing up, no one can ever use this technology again. Alright, Baron von blabs about his only weakness. I think we can all see where this is going. Let's get this over with. False. We will now begin the preparations for modernization. Ah, I see. Three-sided force field. So we need to find some way to bypass that thing. Oh, which I'm assuming is associated with the very conspicuously placed generators in the corners. Yeah. They already gave us a crash course in these things being attached to nearby devices or energy fields. Oh, Tesla trap, right? Nothing to worry about. We've got resist and protect running. We'll just stay focused on getting to Hundred-Face. Oh, my. Oh, dear. Trivial damage, but that... Yep, that just blinded half the party. Well, that is unfortunate. Though, it looks like a fair amount of our martial characters did resist, and blind characters can still shut off these towers, so... If we can just get this thing down, we can hopefully make short work of Hundred-Face himself. Trap just powered up. But again, not a big deal. We're resistant and protected as needed. Shields down. There's the lightning. Let's get Vex set for a crash course. There's our completely unnecessary summons. And face is off. Stand by. Immediate extermination has been considered ineffective. The viability of our host has been compromised. The probability of death is estimated at 100%. The device must not cease its operations. We are ready to transfer the device's control codes to you. Is that so? Well, that's certainly not suspicious. Why? Self-perfection. We approach self-perfection by increasing the complexity of the structures we develop. The device is the most perfect and most complex of the structures of our making. Its continued operation will guarantee the successful completion of our functions. Hundred-Face starts speaking in Hallett, the language of Numeria, and his voice takes on an almost physical presence. His words are impressed upon your mind with such force, you doubt you'll ever be able to forget them. Upon completing his task, Hundred-Face gives an approving nod. The code that controls the device is now known to you. Use it. Its potential is limitless. It will run the necessary procedures on mortal candidates with no need for your input. You will be able to make use of the results. Awaiting. Affirmative. Response. And down goes the host. But the brain is still active. The giant, monstrous, inhuman brain. Really? Just a crossbow? Okay, fine. Let's have a look at this thing. The device greets your approach with majestically cold indifference. Judging by the sounds it makes, it is continuing its frightening and monumental work, even after its owner's death. The device makes all of Hundred-Face's other creations look like pathetic tin handicrafts. Its inner workings reveal an array of perfect geometric forms, and a large crystal covered in minuscule engravings hovers, suspended, at its very center. The wave of energy it emits envelops you. This crystal contains tremendous power, and it is the writing on its surface that directs that power. It feels as if the device itself is a living creature, one that is merely sleeping. For now. Recalling all that you've ever read or heard about the Numerian arts of technomancy, you fully understand the sheer genius of Hundred-Face. Did he even realize what he'd created? That the function for which he was using the device, controlling enslaved warriors, was but a shred of its true potential? One might as well use a finely tuned astronomical instrument as a paperweight. The key, unique feature of the device is its ability to read and process the thoughts of sentient creatures. By absorbing them into the crystal that serves as its heart, it breaks complex thoughts and emotions down into basic, clear symbols, readable by anyone. It perceives deeply personal feelings and casually assimilates any experience. It learns, and what it learns is everything. Hundred Faces' army provided it with many thoughts and emotions, but the device hungers for something more. Observing this magnificent monster is both breathtaking and terrifying. Yeah, we do have the codes. We could activate this thing. We could supplement our crusade with our own cyborg zombies. But I've got to say, I feel like this is something that even Vex would balk at, despite the noise we made back during our conversations with Arielu about how we were willing to do anything to defeat our enemies, use anything. I like to imagine that despite his cantankerous and occasionally murderous nature, Vex has gotten better over time, a little more righteous, a little more good, perhaps. And of course, he does have pretty strong feelings about personal agency and freedom of choice and so on. Nope, I think this thing is best destroyed and forgotten. It is not of this world, and it cannot remain. Shame we don't have any trickster options, though. The device refuses to die. You watch as clouds of metallic dust erupt from its depths and gather around the parts you've damaged, restoring their original condition. You hear a low scraping noise coming from the core of the mechanism, like a giant tossing and turning in its steel cradle, shaking off sleep. Now that you've attacked the device, it tries to awaken, to become more complex in order to protect itself. Without wasting another moment, you call upon all your power and deliver a single, unstoppable, deadly blow. It tears the massive crystal heart from the depths of the device. The mechanism thrashes around like a beast in agony, until, at last, it goes still. Which nets us the heart of the device. A crystal that serves as a powerful energy source. It was once the core of the sinister device created by the technomancer Hundred-Face. But the commander of the Crusade destroyed that abominable machine, and took the heart of the device as his trophy. Not sure if this thing's useful for anything, but at the very least it's pretty respectably valuable. Assuming, I suppose, that's the sort of thing we want to sell and unleash into the wild. Probably not the best idea. And I guess that's it. Not really much else to do here, I suppose. Gotta say, I was really expecting more of a dramatic, climactic battle, I guess, based on how tough things were getting through this place. But I suppose we were pretty swift in shutting down that force field, and in the end, Hundred-Face himself was just a wizard stuck in close quarters. So yeah, that ended about how you would expect it to. They probably should have had some guards on hand, some sort of first line of defense to sort of hold us back from just immediately rushing and disabling those towers. No real answers on those crystals, other than that they are not of this world, but I mean, that could certainly track. I mean, perhaps that's... Well, then again, we don't even know if that's related to the World Wound or whatever crystals the storyteller and Arielu seem to be researching. Maybe it's just a coincidence. We'll just file that away in the maybe folder for now, for future speculation. Let's get a gander at Hundred-Face's stash. Huh. Greatsword. Not what you would expect from someone like Hundred-Face. Oh, I see. Numerian Greatsword, +4 Greatsword, infused with Numerian technology. At a glance, looks to be an assortment of various enhancement bonuses that can be activated for a limited period of time per day. Potentially useful? I mean, I guess if you had a Greatsword user, or a Greatsword wielder, who just happened to have appropriate bonuses for these to stack. But I mean, that is questionable. I guess given the nature of this device, it's best in the hands of like a a greatsword-wielding eldritch knight, perhaps. Definitely outside of our wheelhouse. So, I feel a lot better about selling this thing. That's another 20,000 gold. So, not bad. Not the most exciting find, but a solid bit of vendor fodder. Plus, we did get a fair amount of other interesting items while we were here, just earlier in the dungeon. Anyway, okay, let's hit the pause button real quick. I'm going to go around and do one last lap, clean up the rest of the staff, eke out a few extra experience points, make sure we didn't miss any loot caches. And if there are any highlights, we'll touch on them. Be right back. And there was one more thing. Almost forgot about Vaughn's. So let's check in on her. Yeah, can't say that's a surprise. After the death of Hundred-Face, the warrior summoned all her strength to break the terrible circlet and find freedom in death. Well, that is a bummer, but I guess about the best you could hope for in a situation like this one. Maybe. Best not to dwell on it, I think. We're pretty much done here. Let's burn the place down and be on our way. Oh, well, shoot, yeah, we should probably do something about that. Oh, okay. So we outranked them by at least 2 army ranks. Yeah, that's a free victory. We will absolutely take that. Apparently, as long as the overall power level... Whoops. Okay, well, we should probably take care of that, too. Yeah, apparently as long as your army's power level is at least 2 above the opponent, you'll automatically succeed if you should choose to do so. Which, generally speaking, there's no real reason not to. It just saves time and nets you some quicker rewards. We're grabbing protective wards for the save bonus. We also get penetrating strike, but I almost never use that. And now let's get Setsuna up here to take care of this situation. Yeah, see, this one we have to actually play out because we're only 1 rank higher than them. But we do have an edge. I think the cultists are the only really nasty guys we're seeing here. That's the incubi. And it'll take a bit more doing to drop the Brimmer Axe. Cultists are engaged. Let's whittle them down. And that's the Brimmer Axe. Oof. Okay, yeah, let's do some damage control. Okay, that gets us back under the threshold. And we're done. Not too shabby. I really do need to see if we can track down some more rangers to help bump up that back line. Let's bring up Agaboya's assassins. Actually, you know what? Agaboya is 2 ranks higher than this group here. The one with the Caster General. That's an auto victory. Let's bring her that way instead. Finally snag that finance upgrade. And let's check up on Kingdom events. Right, we saw that when we were resting in Blackwater. The ridiculous coronation is complete. Or ready to complete, rather. We'll probably hit that next time round. The end of the world, as we know it. Priests of various faiths are asking the commander to banish the followers of a small sect that believes in the imminent demise of Golarion. These doomsayers scorn the gods with their words and demand that everyone bow down before the inevitable end. Well, it is good to hear that Harem is still keeping himself busy. Alright, well, not really liking killing or silencing these guys. Those both feel pretty oppressive. Oof, and while this one might normally be my go-to, that hit to morale is actually pretty nasty. Oh, well, this one's easily the best option. No hit to morale, plus free energy. It's alignment locked and at the bottom, so I guess it's probably companion locked. Aru, maybe so-so. We'll do that one. Upon hearing what Sociel, an adept theologian, had to say, the sectarian spoke with the clergy and reached a certain consensus. They agreed to be more discreet. After all, the end of the world is coming either way, so there's no reason to quarrel on its brink. Those are very... those are very reasonable doomsday prophets. I appreciate that. Ah, nice. I think that's our last diplomatic upgrade for Act 3. Oh, right, and let's get this one going too. That's either our last staff upgrade or our second to last. Alright, folks. You know, I think that actually brings us to a pretty good stopping point. I know it's a bit earlier than usual. Normally I'd like to go a bit longer. Maybe check out the Sacred Lands or go pop back and get that coronation going, meet up with Merkel. But unfortunately, current circumstances necessitate slightly shorter videos. There's a lot of stuff going on my end, but I'll do up like a state of the channel thing just to give you a general idea of what's going on and when, hopefully, we can start leaning back towards some level of normalcy. But yeah, so if I seem a bit quieter or more subdued than usual, that's part of it. I'm just exhausted right now. Still trying to keep the channel going, though. That said, we will hit the pause button for now. I'll take a gander at our various bookkeeping. I can finally do some reinforcements while we're out on the map like this. And I'll figure out where we're headed next. Probably back to Dresden to take care of those queued events before they start stacking too much. See you then. Oh, and remember, although I do love playing Pathfinder, Wrath of the Righteous, you can find out more about the game by visiting the official websites. And if you'd like to help support the channel, feel free to push the buttons that do the things, or maybe even check out the Patreon or the new YouTube memberships. Links are in the description.
Such a crime carries a death sentence in wartime.